Welcome to Wealth Hustle 247 podcast, your trusted guide to financial literacy, business innovation, and entrepreneurial success. Learn how to grow your wealth, make informed decisions, and turn your ideas into profitable ventures.
Looking to build steady, lasting wealth? In this episode, we dive into mastering cash flow investment opportunities for wealth building. Let's unlock the power of smart investing.
Hey there, everybody. So today we're going to be diving into something a lot of you have requested, mastering cash flow for wealth building.
Yes.
Like, we want to give your money a job with, a good salary and benefits so it can really work for you while you're out there living your life.
I like that. Yeah, cash flow investing is all about having assets that pay you consistently. So it creates a cycle of income and growth.
And what's exciting about this deep dive is we're going way beyond just stocks and bonds.
Right.
We're talking about investments you can actually visualize. Some you might not even have thought of before as money makers.
Yeah, we'll be covering everything from owning part of a solar farm to building an online business from your couch.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely be talking about compounding, which is like putting your earnings on autopilot.
I like that. Autopilot
And
earning.
will generate even more income over time.
Okay, so no more stuffing money under the mattress.
Right.
So let's talk about what cash flow investing really means for someone like you listening to this deep dive.
It's really about changing your focus from solely relying on your job for income.
Yeah.
Instead, you're building multiple income streams, which is going to lead to financial stability.
Oh, so it's kind of like having a backup generator for your finances. So you don't have to worry as much about what happens if one income source dries up.
Exactly. It provides peace of mind, I would say, as well.
Definitely.
And, plus it's a good shield against inflation.
Oh, good point.
As prices go up, the income you're generating from your investments can help you maintain your purchasing power.
Okay, I'm already seeing the appeal here.
Good.
But let's get into specifics.
Right.
What kind of investment opportunities are we really talking about here?
So we're going to explore 7 different categories, each one with its own unique flavor. We'll break down everything from real estate to dividend stocks to online businesses.
It's 7, okay.
Even agriculture and renewable energy investments.
Wow, okay. Color me intrigued. Let's start with something I think everyone's at least a little bit curious about. Real estate.
Sure. Real estate can be a really great way to generate cash flow, especially if you know what to look for.
Yeah.
We've got options like rental properties, REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, and even real estate crowdfunding.
Okay. That's a lot of choices.
Yeah.
But real estate can be really hands-on. What if you aren't cut out to be a landlord?
That's where understanding the options comes in.
Yeah.
You can certainly start with a single rental property,
Okay.
for a more manageable experience. But multifamily properties can often yield a higher cash flow per dollar invested compared to single-family homes.
Really? So more doors equals more potential income.
Yes, exactly. Think about it.
Okay.
A duplex or a small apartment building brings in multiple rent checks every single month.
Yeah.
That's significantly boosting your cash flow. Plus, if you have a vacancy in one unit, you still have income coming in from the others.
Oh, okay. I see the appeal. But I can imagine it could be kind of a lot to manage. So what if you're not interested in, finding tenants and doing repairs and all of that?
Well, in that case, REITs could be the answer for you.
Okay.
These companies that own and manage income-producing real estate.
Yeah.
And you can invest in them just like you would in a stock.
Oh, so instead of owning a whole property, you're kind of owning a small piece of a larger portfolio.
Yeah.
And then they handle all the, the messy details.
Exactly. And the beauty of REITs is that they're legally required to distribute most of their profits back to the shareholders in the form of dividends.
Dividends.
So you get regular payouts, often quarterly,
Yeah.
which adds to your cash flow.
Okay. I can see the appeal there.
Yeah.
That's a nice hands-off approach.
Mm.
Okay. But before we get too deep into bricks and mortar, what other categories are we going to cover?
So let's move on to dividend stocks and ETFs.
Okay.
This is a way to tap into the stock market while focusing on companies that actually pay you on a regular basis.
I think everyone's heard of stocks, but the dividend part is where it gets interesting for cash flow.
Right.
Right.
Some companies choose to share a portion of their profits with the people who own their stock.
Right.
It's called dividends.
Yeah.
Think of it like getting a bonus check just for owning a piece of that company.
So I could potentially benefit from the stock going up in value and
Yeah.
you get paid dividends just for owning it. Sounds like a win-win.
You got it. And there's this whole world of dividend stocks to explore.
Yeah.
You can go for dividend aristocrats. Those are companies with a proven track record of increasing their dividends year after year.
So they're kind of like steady Eddie performers.
Yeah, those are the
If you're looking for predictable income.
exactly.
Okay.
And then you've got high yield dividend stocks.
Okay.
Those offer higher payouts.
So high risk, high reward.
Yes.
But what if I'm not comfortable picking individual stocks? That seems like it requires a lot of research.
Well, that's where ETFs come in.
Oh, okay.
Those are like baskets of dividend-paying stocks,
Oh, interesting.
giving you instant diversification across a bunch of different companies.
So it's a way to get those dividend benefits without having to be like a stock market guru.
Precisely. You spread your risk. You tap into the expertise of fund managers who actually create those ETFs for you.
Okay. Stocks, real estate. We're covering some familiar territory here. What else is on the menu?
Let's talk about fixed income investments.
Okay.
These are known for more predictable and consistent returns, often through interest payments.
Fixed income sounds pretty well fixed. What exactly falls into that category?
Think bonds,
Okay.
like classic bonds, so like IOUs issued by governments or companies, and you get regular interest payments in return.
So it's like being the bank, lending money and getting paid interest for it?
That's the idea. And then we have things like annuities, which are insurance products
Oh, okay.
that can provide a guaranteed income stream often for retirement.
Annuities sound like a good fit for somebody who wants to know exactly how much income they're going to receive every month, especially later in life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
They could be a really useful tool for creating that predictable income stream during your golden years. And then you have peer-to-peer lending.
Okay, now peer-to-peer lending, that sounds interesting. What's that all about?
It's like if you were funding a small business in your community
Okay.
and earning interest on that loan.
Oh.
But instead of going through a traditional bank, you're connecting directly with these borrowers through online platforms.
So you're like cutting out the middleman.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can often get higher interest rates
Oh, I like that.
compared to traditional savings accounts or CDs.
Okay, I'm liking the sound of this.
Okay.
And we have, like 4 more categories to explore?
We do.
All right, let's move on to the next cash flow adventure. What have we got?
So have you ever considered building an online business or using digital assets?
Ooh, online business now you're talking. I mean, that definitely appeals to the entrepreneurial spirit. So what kind of opportunities are out there?
So many. I mean, the internet has really opened up a world of possibilities to generate income with really low startup costs.
That's appealing.
Imagine a business that runs 24/7, reaching customers globally,
Yeah.
all from your laptop.
Okay, definitely appealing.
Yeah.
So tell me more about these online ventures.
Okay, so one popular option is affiliate marketing.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those sponsored links or product recommendations on blogs or on social media?
Yeah.
That's affiliate marketing. You're basically promoting other people's products or services, and you earn a commission
Oh.
for every sale that you drive.
So it's like being an influencer, but instead of promoting like clothes, you're promoting products and services that you actually genuinely believe in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can leverage your existing online presence if you have one, like a blog or social media following, or an email list to reach potential customers.
So it's like a way to monetize your passion or your expertise. I like it. What other online business models should we know about?
Another great option is subscription businesses. Think like Netflix
Yeah.
or Spotify.
Okay.
They provide value to customers, and in exchange, they get a recurring subscription fee.
So instead of a one-time product, you're creating a customer base who pays you regularly.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a software as a service platform, a membership site with exclusive content,
Oh, interesting.
or a subscription box. The key is to provide consistent value.
Okay.
That keeps people coming back for more.
I'm seeing the potential here.
Okay.
What other digital treasures are out there for building cash flow?
Well, how about digital products?
Okay.
These are amazing ways to generate passive income. You create something once, like an ebook or online course or templates, stock photos,
Yeah.
and it can sell over and over again.
Okay. So that's the dream.
It is.
You create once, you sell forever.
And then there's content creation.
Yeah.
You could build an audience through things like YouTube, podcasts, blogs.
Right.
You open up opportunities through ads and sponsorships.
That's right. I mean, people are building whole careers these days through creating content. It's really inspiring.
It is. And the best part is that there aren't that many barriers to entry.
Yeah.
With a little bit of creativity, dedication, and just a bit of tech savvy, you could start building your own online business empire.
I like it.
All right, we've talked real estate, stocks, fixed income, and this exciting world of online business.
Yeah.
So what other cash flow avenues can we uncover?
Let's do it.
All right, so how about franchising and business ownership?
Okay.
So this is where you can tap into existing business models with a proven track record.
Well, yeah. The allure of being your own boss.
Exactly.
So tell me more about how franchising and business ownership can generate cash flow.
So with franchises, you get a well-known brand, marketing support, systems, and all that.
Yeah.
It's a great head start.
It's like having a blueprint already laid out.
Exactly.
You just have to follow the recipe.
You got it. And there's such a wide range of options. Fast food restaurants to laundromats to vending machine businesses and service-based businesses.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless there.
They are.
What are some key things to think about if you're exploring franchise opportunities?
Well, I mean, research is key.
Yeah.
You have to understand the costs involved and the support provided and the potential for profitability in your market.
Yeah, it's about finding the right fit.
Yes.
Your skills and your interests.
Yeah, you don't want to just jump at the first opportunity you see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have a great idea yourself, you can always start your own business from scratch.
Right.
Which takes more effort, more risk, but the rewards can be substantial.
They can.
Okay, we've got 2 more categories.
We do.
What else? What else is out there?
How about agriculture and agribusiness investments?
Agriculture. That's a unique one. I never thought of agriculture as a cash flow investment.
It's often overlooked.
Yeah. Tell me more about how this works.
There are so many possibilities.
Yeah.
You could go with farmland leasing.
Okay.
You purchase the land and then you lease it to farmers.
Oh, so instead of being a landlord for a property,
Yeah.
you're a landlord for farmland.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So you're providing a space for food production
Yeah,
and collecting that rent.
that's a cool concept. Okay, what if you're not just interested in being a passive landlord? What if you want to, get your hands dirty?
Well, how about livestock farming?
Okay.
You'd be raising animals like cows, chickens, or pigs.
Yeah, so that definitely takes a little bit more expertise in getting your hands dirty.
It does.
Yeah,
But it can be fulfilling
definitely.
and profitable.
For sure. And what if I'm more of a plant person?
Well, then you can invest in cash crops.
Okay.
Things like corn and soybeans and wheat and fruits and vegetables.
So it's like choosing the right stocks, but instead of companies, you're choosing crops.
Yes, it's all about market dynamics, choosing crops that are in high demand.
Okay, so there's a lot to that.
Yeah,
But it sounds fascinating.
it is. And as the world population keeps growing, so does the demand for agricultural products.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so we're down to our last category.
We are.
What else is there to explore?
How about renewable energy?
Oh, yes.
So this is where you can tap into the global shift toward clean and sustainable sources.
Renewable energy is definitely on everyone's mind these days. So how can we turn this trend into a cash flow opportunity?
Well, there are several ways.
Okay.
One way is to invest in solar and wind farms.
Okay.
Those generate electricity from renewable sources and sell it back to the grid.
So instead of owning a traditional power plant that relies on fossil fuels,
Right.
you're owning a piece of a clean energy power plant,
Exactly. You're capitalizing on the growing demand for clean energy.
which is good for everyone.
Okay.
What other renewable energy investments are out there?
Well, with the rise of electric vehicles, investing in EV charging stations is becoming super lucrative.
Oh, yeah. It's like owning a gas station of the future.
Exactly. And you can install them in strategic locations
Okay.
and generate income.
Okay. And what if I like the more diversified approach? Is there an ETF for renewable energy?
Of course, there are renewable energy ETFs
Okay, fantastic.
that hold a bunch of companies that are all about renewable energy.
So we've got 7 major categories here: real estate, stocks, fixed income, online businesses, franchise and business ownership, agriculture, and renewable energy.
That's right.
That's quite a spread.
It is. And it just goes to show how diverse cash flow investing really is.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
I love that. So now that we've explored these really cool opportunities, what are some of the key strategies that we need to think about to make sure that our cash flow investments are really working for us, working as hard as they can?
Okay, so now we need to talk about strategy. This is where things get really fun.
All right, I love strategy. So let's make my money work smarter, not harder.
I love that.
Yeah.
And a great place to start is diversification.
Diversification. I know it's important, but remind me again, why is it so important for cash flow investing?
It's simple. You wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all about spreading the risk.
Okay.
So you diversify your portfolio across different types of assets.
Okay.
So if one investment takes a dip,
Yeah.
the others are there to cushion the blow.
Oh, so it's like having a financial safety net.
It is.
So you don't feel the full impact of any market, ups and downs.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to cash flow, diversification's key for a steady income stream. You're spreading those investments across different assets. You create these multiple streams of revenue.
That makes a lot of sense. Like having multiple rivers flowing into your financial lake. So even if one dries up, you've got other sources, keeping the water coming in. What other strategies should we be thinking about?
Okay, let's talk about reinvesting profits.
Okay.
This is where compounding comes in.
Oh, yeah. Compounding. Okay, I've heard of it, but how does it work and why is it so powerful?
So picture a snowball rolling down a hill. As it rolls, it picks up more snow and gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
That's kind of like compounding. Your earnings are reinvested and they generate more earnings.
Okay.
And then those generate even more earnings and it just keeps growing.
So it's like a money-making snowball,
It is.
growing bigger and faster over time.
Exactly. The longer you let it compound, the bigger it gets.
So it's not just about how much money you invest, but how much time you give it to grow.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty powerful. What other strategic tools should we have here?
Let's talk about debt management.
Okay.
Debt can be useful, but it's got to be managed strategically.
So it's about finding that sweet spot. Exactly.
Where it's working for you, not against you.
Exactly. Too much debt can really hurt your cash flow.
Yeah.
The key is to make sure that your income from your investments can cover your debt so that you can leverage your investments without feeling overwhelmed.
Okay. It's like walking a tightrope,
Yes.
finding the right balance.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's next on our strategic checklist?
Let's talk about taxes.
Okay.
Taxes can take a bite out of your returns.
Yeah.
So it's really important to be tax efficient.
Tax is not always the most fun to talk about,
No.
but definitely important.
Yes.
How can we make our cash flow investments more tax efficient?
Okay, so one strategy is to utilize tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks or Roth IRAs.
Okay.
These offer tax benefits
Yeah.
that can help your investments grow faster.
So it's like putting your money in this special wrapper that protects it from the tax man,
I like that.
so it can grow and compound more effectively.
Exactly. And don't forget about deductions.
Oh.
A lot of deductions are available for certain types of investments.
Yeah, I think it's always a good idea to check with a tax professional.
Yes, definitely.
Just to make sure you're maximizing everything you can.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got diversification, reinvesting profits, debt management, tax efficiency. What's our final strategy here?
Passive management tools.
Okay, passive management tools. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so these can really help streamline your investments so you have less work and less stress.
Okay, I'm already on board.
Good. So imagine a team of virtual assistants
I like it.
working behind the scenes to make sure your investments are running smoothly.
Sign me up.
I know, right? Okay, so for example, if you're investing in real estate, you can hire a property manager
Oh, yeah.
to handle everything,
Makes sense.
finding tenants, rent, repairs.
Yeah, so that would definitely take a load off your shoulders.
It would. You also have robo-advisors.
Robo-advisors, okay?
Those are becoming really
Ah.
popular for managing stock portfolios. They use these algorithms,
Oh, wow.
to manage these diversified portfolios based on your risk and goals.
So it's like having this virtual financial advisor, like, working for you all the time.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah. They rebalance your portfolio as needed.
Okay.
And how about online businesses? What about those?
Oh, yeah. Are there any, like, passive management tools for online businesses?
Yeah, you can automate your income streams.
Oh,
Like, automated payments.
yeah.
You can set up email marketing campaigns, social media scheduling tools.
So you're not constantly having to be, like, at your computer working.
Exactly.
It can work for you.
Yes. Passive management tools help you leverage technology so you can be more efficient.
Okay, so it's about working smarter, not harder.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm loving these strategies. So we've covered diversification, reinvesting profits, debt management, tax efficiency, and this magic of passive management tools.
It is kind of magical.
I feel like we're building a pretty powerful toolkit for financial success.
You are. And remember, all these strategies work together.
Okay.
to maximize returns.
So we've explored all these opportunities. We've armed ourselves with some powerful strategies.
Right.
Now, how do we take all this and create a personalized cash flow investment plan? Like, where do we even begin?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the key to building a successful plan is personalization. It's about tailoring your strategy to your own goals and circumstances and risk tolerance.
So it's like creating a custom tailored suit
Yeah,
for our financial future.
you got it.
I love it. Okay, so what's the first step in the fitting process?
Well, first you got to define your financial goals.
Yeah.
What is it that you want to achieve with your investments?
Okay, we need a destination in mind
Okay,
before we
3.
can plan the route.
Yes.
Makes sense. So what are some of the key things that we need to consider when we're, defining our financial goals?
So think about your income.
Yeah.
How much do you want to be making from your investments? Do you want to, supplement your income?
Yeah.
Or replace your job completely? Do you want to build wealth
Oh, yeah.
for your family?
To leave a legacy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you also have to consider your risk tolerance. Are you comfortable with some, ups and downs?
Yeah.
Or do you prefer a really steady, predictable path?
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's about finding that right balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then think about your timeline. You're looking for short-term gains, long-term growth.
So it's kind of like planning a trip. A weekend getaway requires a different approach than like a year-long backpacking adventure.
I love that.
Okay, so we've defined our goals,
Right.
our risk tolerance, our investment timeline.
So now what?
What's the next step in building our personalized cash flow plan?
Now we got to choose the right cash flow assets.
Okay.
We got to look at all those exciting opportunities that we discussed and choose the ones that fit you.
Okay, so time to put on our investor hats and really dive into this.
I love it. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here.
Yeah, it's about what works best for you.
Exactly. What are you passionate about? What are you comfortable with? What are you going to stick with for the long haul?
All right, so let's say we've done our due diligence, we've considered our goals, we've picked, our mix of investments.
Okay.
What's next?
It's time to take action,
All right.
but start small.
Okay.
Don't try to do everything all at once.
Okay, yeah.
Start with 1 or 2 investments. Do your research.
Dip your toes in.
Exactly. Investing is a journey. There are going to be ups and downs.
Okay.
The key is to stay informed
Yeah.
and don't give up.
Yeah, consistency.
Yes.
Okay. So what about resources? If our listeners are really into this, where can they go to learn more and to get some support?
Oh, so many resources.
Yeah.
Books, podcasts, blogs, online courses, financial advisors.
So find something that works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to experienced investors. Find a financial professional.
It can feel intimidating, but you don't have to do it alone.
No.
Huh.
There's so many people out there to help.
That's great advice. And as you're, starting out on this journey, what's something that our listeners should really keep in mind?
You got to celebrate those wins.
Oh, yes.
Even the small ones.
Yeah.
It could be really motivating. Keep you going.
Yeah, celebrate the milestones.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the pursuit of those goals and forget to actually enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Be proud of what you're on.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of the theoretical stuff, but I'm a big believer in learning by example.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we maybe dive into some real-world scenarios of how these strategies actually play out?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best way to understand something is to see it in action. So let's start with real estate.
Okay.
Imagine a young couple. Let's call them Sarah and John.
Okay.
They're tired of renting. They want to start building wealth.
Yeah.
So instead of buying a single-family home,
Right.
they decide to purchase a duplex.
Oh, okay. I like where this is going already. Most young couples, wouldn't even consider a duplex. So what's the strategy?
Well, they live in one unit
Okay.
and rent out the other.
Oh, okay.
And the rent that they collect covers most of their mortgage.
Wow.
So they're actually building equity faster and they're lowering their monthly housing costs.
So they're using that rental income to kind of accelerate their path to home ownership,
Exactly.
and they're building wealth at the same time?
Yes. And it gets better.
Okay.
As their property value goes up and their mortgage balance goes down, they can use that equity to buy another rental property,
Mm-hmm.
maybe another duplex,
Okay.
or even a small apartment building.
It's like a snowball effect with real estate.
It is.
So they're starting small,
Yeah.
building that momentum,
Exactly.
and just, gradually expanding over time.
Okay, so let's switch gears. Let's go to the stock market. Let's say we've got a retiree.
Right.
Her name is Mary.
Okay.
She wants more retirement income
Yeah.
without having to sell any of her investments.
I think a lot of people in retirement are in that position, right?
Yeah,
They've worked hard, they've saved, now they want their money to work for them.
exactly. So Mary's invested in a bunch of dividend-paying stocks,
Yeah.
blue chip companies.
Those are the big established companies.
Yeah.
The ones that have been around forever,
Yes,
really reliable.
like Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
They've been around a long time.
Yeah.
They pay consistent dividends.
So it's like getting a regular check from these companies just for owning the stock.
That's a great way to put
I
it.
like it.
So Mary can use those dividends to, cover her expenses or reinvest them to grow her portfolio even more.
So it's like she has a choice, right? Enjoying the fruits of her labor
Yeah.
or planting those fruits to grow an even bigger financial orchard.
I love that. That's perfect.
Okay. So let's jump to the world of online businesses.
Okay.
Imagine a young entrepreneur. Let's call him David.
Okay.
He's really passionate about photography.
Awesome.
He decides, you know what? I want to create an online course
Okay.
to teach people how to take amazing photos.
Love it.
So it's like, again, turning your passion into profit, right?
Exactly. And with an online business, he can reach people all over the world.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the overhead costs of a traditional business.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing what you can do online these days.
It is. So David can sell his course through his website, through online learning platforms,
Yeah.
through social media.
It's like having a business that operates 24/7,
It is.
all over the world while you're sleeping.
And he can even diversify,
Oh.
maybe create an ebook or presets that people can download.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's kind of creating this digital empire,
Yes.
one product at a time.
Right. And creating this system where, his knowledge, his passion is generating income,
Even when he's not working.
even when he's off doing other things.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's go back to, more traditional businesses.
Okay.
Imagine a family, the Smiths,
Okay.
and they've always wanted to own a business.
Awesome.
So they decide to invest in a franchise.
Great.
They open a coffee shop in their community.
Oh, I loved it.
Everyone loves a local coffee shop.
Everybody does.
So, what's the cash flow strategy here?
So franchising is a good path to business ownership with a little bit more support.
Yeah.
So they get the brand recognition.
Yeah.
They get marketing. They get a whole operational system.
So it reduces the risk of starting a business from scratch.
Right.
It's like they get a roadmap for success.
Yeah. And they can add their own touch to it.
Right, right. And maybe if their coffee shop is super successful, they open up more locations.
Exactly.
Okay. One final example. Let's go back to agriculture.
Right.
Imagine a farmer named George.
Okay.
Owns a lot of farmland.
All right. Beautiful farmland.
Yeah. So in addition to, the traditional crops and livestock,
Yeah.
George decides to kind of embrace the whole renewable energy trend
Right.
and install solar panels
Ooh, I like it.
on a portion of his land.
So he's diversifying his income.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's creating this dual purpose asset, right?
Yes.
It's producing food
Yeah.
and it's generating electricity,
I love it.
which he can, sell back to the grid.
Yes.
So he's reducing his reliance on, traditional energy sources,
Right.
which is great for the environment.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for his wallet and the planet.
Absolutely. It's really cool to see.
I think these examples really do paint a picture of how this
They do.
can play out. So
Yeah.
it's inspiring, seeing how people are using these strategies in their lives.
Yeah.
To build wealth and, to live a life that aligns with their values.
Yeah.
So I think our listeners are eager to learn more about how to actually put all this into practice. Can we dig into each of those categories?
Yes. Let's do it.
So let's start with real estate.
Okay, great. So real estate's often the first thing people think of when they think about cash flow.
Yeah.
It's a tangible asset. It's something you can see and touch.
Yeah.
It can generate income and it can appreciate in value.
So we talked about rentals, REITs, and real estate crowdfunding.
Right.
Can we kind of break down each of those options?
Yes. So let's start with rental properties.
Okay.
This is the classic buy and hold strategy.
Yeah.
You purchase a property,
Yeah.
you rent it out to tenants.
You're essentially becoming a landlord. So what are some of the key things you need to consider?
Okay, so location,
Yeah.
Super important.
Right.
You got to find a property in an area with strong rental demand.
So a place where people want to live, good schools,
Yes.
Close to transportation.
You also want to assess the condition of the property, factor in any repair cost.
So it's kind of like buying a used car, You don't
Yeah.
want to get a lemon. That's going to cost you a ton of money.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, of course, being a landlord comes with responsibilities.
Right.
Finding tenants, collecting rent, handling maintenance.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work,
It can be.
especially if you have a full-time job.
That's why a lot of investors hire property managers.
Oh, yeah.
It costs a little, but it can save you a lot of stress.
Yeah, makes sense. So that's an option if you want a more hands-off approach.
It is.
Okay. So what about REITs?
Right? REITs.
How do those work?
So those are real estate investment trusts. They're companies that own and operate or finance income-producing real estate.
So instead of owning the property yourself,
Right.
you're buying shares in a company that owns properties.
Exactly. And REITs are actually legally required to distribute 90% of their taxable income back to shareholders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as dividends.
So you're getting a regular piece of the pie
Yes.
from this whole portfolio of properties.
Exactly. And it's a level of diversification that most people can't achieve on their own.
Right.
They own all kinds of properties.
Yeah.
Apartment buildings, shopping malls, office buildings.
So if you're looking for like that real estate exposure
Yeah.
without the hands-on stuff, REITs seem like a good option.
They are.
Okay. What about real estate crowdfunding?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How does that fit in?
Okay, so this is a newer way to invest.
Yeah.
Basically, it allows a bunch of investors to pool their money
Okay.
and invest in a bigger real estate project.
So it's like Kickstarter, but for real estate.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a great way to think about it.
So what are the kind of the advantages there?
Okay, so it definitely lowers the barrier to entry.
Okay.
So people with less money can get in on bigger projects.
So I don't have to have like $1 million to buy a building. I
Yeah.
can invest a little bit
Right.
and own a small piece.
Exactly. And these platforms offer all kinds of opportunities, residential, commercial, even debt financing.
So it's a way to diversify,
Yeah.
potentially get in on like higher return opportunities.
Yes.
Okay, but with anything, do your research.
Yes, absolutely.
Making sure you understand the risks involved.
Exactly. Understand the local market.
Okay. So we've unpacked real estate.
Okay.
Let's move on to dividend stocks and ETFs. I think a lot of people, they're curious about the stock market, but they're a little intimidated by it.
It can seem that way.
How can we make this category more approachable?
Well, just remember that investing in dividend stocks is all about finding companies that are going to share their profits with you,
Right.
just because you own their stock.
You're kind of like a part owner.
Yeah.
So you get a cut.
And even though the stock market can feel unpredictable, there are ways to reduce risk and create a portfolio that pays you consistently.
Okay, I like that. So tell me about these strategies.
All right, so one strategy is to focus on the dividend aristocrats.
Yeah.
Those are the companies that increase their dividends year after year.
They're committed to sharing those profits.
Yes, they're well-established companies, strong track record.
So if I'm just dipping my toes into the stock market, that sounds like a good place to start.
It is a good place to start.
So give me some examples of dividend aristocrats.
Okay, so Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
Johnson & Johnson,
Yeah.
Procter & Gamble, 3M, they've been paying dividends for years.
So they're like the rock stars
They are.
of the dividend world. Okay, so what about if you're, comfortable with a little bit more risk and you're looking for a higher payout? What are your options then?
All right, well, then you have high-yield dividend stocks.
High yield? Okay, what's the catch?
Well, of course, there's a little bit more risk.
Yeah.
They might be in cyclical industries
Right.
that are more susceptible to downturns.
Okay.
They might have higher debt.
Yeah.
So it's important to do your research.
So higher potential returns come with higher potential risks.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay. So I need to do my homework.
You do.
Make sure I'm comfortable with it.
You got it.
Yeah.
And diversify.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Don't put everything in one basket.
That's always good advice. Spread the risk. But what if I'm just not comfortable picking individual stocks?
You can always go with ETFs.
Oh, yeah, ETFs.
That's a great option.
So remind me again, what's an ETF?
So it's a basket of stocks.
Okay.
So you're not picking individuals.
Okay.
And they're all different types for
Yeah.
your risk tolerance and your style.
So you're simplifying the process, diversifying, and getting some expertise built in.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty appealing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered real estate, dividend stocks.
Right.
Let's move on to fixed income investments. Those are the ones that are more like predictable.
Yeah.
You get that consistent return.
Yes.
Okay, so what are some common types of fixed income investments?
Well, we talked about bonds.
Okay.
Those are the loans to governments or companies.
Yeah, it's like you're being the bank.
You are
Okay.
lending out money and getting paid interest.
And there are different types of bonds?
Oh, yes. So you've got government bonds.
Okay.
Very safe
Right.
because they're backed by the government.
So if I'm, risk averse, government bonds are good for me.
They are.
Okay.
Then you've got municipal bonds.
Municipal bonds. Okay.
They're issued by state and local governments to fund public projects.
So they're helping to build things like schools and
Yes.
And roads and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the advantages there?
Well, a lot of times the interest income from those is tax-free.
Oh, really?
So that's a big perk.
Yeah, especially if you're in a higher tax bracket. Okay, so any other types of bonds?
Oh, yeah. You've got corporate bonds. They're issued by companies.
Yeah.
They typically have higher interest rates,
Okay.
but also a little more risk.
So there's that trade-off again. Higher return,
Yeah.
higher risk.
It's all about balance.
Makes sense. Okay, so bonds, I get it. What other fixed income options are out there?
Okay, how about annuities?
Annuities, yeah.
Those are really popular for people planning for retirement.
Yeah.
They're insurance contracts,
Okay.
and they give you this guaranteed income,
Oh, wow.
often for life.
So that gives you peace of mind,
It does,
especially in retirement,
especially then.
when you don't have that paycheck coming in anymore.
Right.
Okay, so bonds, annuities, anything else
Oh, yeah.
in this world of fixed income?
Peer-to-peer lending.
Oh, yeah, peer-to-peer.
Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
Lending money directly.
So you're kind of like a mini bank.
Yes.
Okay.
Cutting out those big institutions.
Okay. And you get a higher interest rate.
Often, yes.
Okay. So we've got bonds, annuities, and peer-to-peer. That's a lot of options
It is.
for those predictable returns.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to something maybe a little more unconventional. Let's talk about online businesses
Okay, loving.
and digital assets.
The internet is full of possibilities.
It is. But I think a lot of people are, they're curious about it, but they also get a little intimidated.
Yeah.
Like, do you need to be a tech wizard
Not at all.
or have like millions of followers to be successful?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, anyone can do this.
All right, so give me some examples of businesses that are like really accessible to, just regular people.
Okay, so let's start with affiliate marketing.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that a little bit.
Right.
That's where you're partnering with businesses to promote their stuff.
So instead of creating my own product, I'm recommending something that I already love, and then I get a cut.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're leveraging your platform, like your
Okay.
blog or your social media,
Yeah.
to connect potential customers.
And what are some popular platforms?
Well, there's Amazon Associates.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
You can recommend any product on Amazon.
So if I have like a blog about gardening,
Yeah.
I can recommend my favorite tools.
Yeah.
And if someone buys them through my link, I get a commission.
Exactly.
Yep.
And there are tons of programs out there for all sorts of industries.
All right, so affiliate marketing, that sounds, relatively easy to start with.
Yeah.
What other options?
Okay, how about subscription-based businesses?
Subscription businesses. Okay.
Those are getting really popular.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to create recurring revenue, right?
It is.
You've got that steady stream of income.
Yeah, you're building a community of loyal subscribers.
Okay, so like Netflix.
Exactly.
Or Spotify.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a subscription model.
Right. Okay.
Consistent value, steady income.
Those are big companies, though.
Right.
What if I'm just starting out?
Well, you could create a membership site
Okay.
with exclusive content.
Oh.
Or you could do like a subscription box
Oh, yeah.
where you curate these products or offer, online coaching or consulting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of different options there.
There are.
What other models should we explore?
Okay, so how about digital products?
Okay.
So you create something once
Yeah.
and you can sell it over and over.
That's the dream.
It is passive income.
Yeah. So what are we talking about here? What kind of digital products?
It could be ebooks or courses,
Okay.
templates, stock photos, maybe even software.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. You can automate the whole process.
So it really does sell while you sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
How about content creation?
Oh, yeah. Content creation.
So many people are doing that.
Yeah, it's really popular.
Yeah.
But how do you make it into like a real sustainable income?
It's all about creating great content
Okay.
for a specific audience.
So find your niche.
Yes.
Be consistent.
You got it.
Provide value.
And once you build a following, you can monetize. Ads, sponsorships, create your own products.
So you can kind of build this media empire.
You can. It's amazing. You get to share your passion. You get to connect with people.
Okay. So we've got affiliate marketing, subscription businesses, digital products, content creation.
A lot of options.
A lot of options. But what if I'm more interested in, brick and mortar, like a real physical business?
Right.
Is cash flow investing still an option there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We talked about franchising.
Right.
That's a great option.
Yeah.
You're getting that head start.
You've got the blueprint.
Yeah.
Okay. But how do you know which franchise is the right one?
Well, you got to consider your interests, your skills. You got to do your research, make sure it makes sense financially.
Yeah, don't just pick one because you like the product. You gotta think about the business side of things.
Yeah. And of course, you can always start your own business from scratch.
Right.
That can be super rewarding.
Reward.
Definitely.
But the rewards can be greater. Okay, so let's move on to agriculture.
Right.
I think a lot of people don't think of agriculture as an investment opportunity.
Yeah. People tend to overlook it.
Yeah.
But there are some great options there.
Okay.
From farmland to livestock.
Yeah. So break it down for me.
All right. So farmland leasing.
Yeah. Farmland leasing. How does that work?
You buy the land, you lease it to a farmer, you collect the rent.
So I'm like a landlord for farmland.
You are.
Instead of like an apartment building.
Exactly. It can be a really stable income,
Okay.
especially if you've got a long-term lease.
So that's for a more hands-off approach.
It is.
Mhm.
What if you want to get involved?
Okay.
How about livestock?
Livestock farming.
Raising animals.
Yeah.
Cows, chickens,
Yeah.
pigs, sheep.
So you need some expertise there.
Yeah, you definitely do.
But it sounds rewarding.
It is.
Okay. and for the plant lovers out there,
Yeah.
how about crops?
You can invest in cash crops.
Cash crops? Okay, what are those?
So these are things that are in high demand.
Yeah.
Corn, soybeans,
Okay.
wheat, even fruits and vegetables.
So you're picking crops like you're picking stocks,
Yeah,
looking for that growth potential.
you got it. You need some market knowledge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a lot of different ways you can invest in agriculture,
There are.
from being a landlord to, actually raising the animals or the crops.
Yeah, and don't forget about agricultural technology.
Oh, yeah. Ag tech.
That's a big one.
Yeah. So tell me about that.
That's a growing sector. A lot of technology coming into agriculture.
So give me some examples.
Okay, so companies that develop precision farming technologies like sensors, drones,
Oh, wow.
using data to help farmers optimize their yields.
So it's like making farming smarter.
It is.
Okay.
And then companies developing solutions for vertical farming,
Yeah.
indoor agriculture, alternative proteins.
Wow. So it's really about the future of food.
It is. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Okay, we've covered a lot of categories already.
I know we have.
What's left on our list?
Renewable energy investment.
Renewable energy. That's
Yeah.
a good one. All right. So we've talked about a lot of different opportunities out there, from real estate to online businesses to even agriculture. But now I think it's time to kind of shift our focus inward.
I agree. I think we've laid a good foundation, explored all the options, and now it's time to figure out how to build a plan that works for you.
Okay, so let's talk strategy.
Right.
How do we take all of this and turn it into an actual plan?
Well, I always like to start with this one question.
Okay.
What does financial freedom look like to you?
That's a good question. I mean, it's not just about like having a ton of money, right? It's about freedom.
Yes.
Freedom to live life on your terms, to pursue your passions, to spend time with your loved ones, to give back,
Exactly. It's a personal thing.
Mm,
Financial freedom means something different to everyone.
yeah.
So, think about your ideal life.
Okay.
What would you do if money wasn't an issue? How would you spend your time? What impact would you make?
I love that. Connecting our financial goals to our values.
Exactly.
Okay, so once we have that vision, what's next?
Then you turn those visions into actual goals.
Okay.
How much income do you want to be making from your investments? When do you want to achieve financial independence?
So it's about setting those, smart goals.
Exactly. It's about being specific and making a plan.
Yeah, and realistic too, right?
Yeah.
Because this takes time.
Oh, yeah.
It takes work. So what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed?
Start small.
Yeah.
You don't have to do everything at once.
Okay.
Choose 1 or 2 investment categories that you really connect with. Do your research and start with a small amount of money.
Yeah. Kind of dip your toes in before you
Only
jump
way.
in the deep end.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And investing is a journey. It's not, a sprint to the finish line.
Right.
There are going to be good times, there are going to be bad times, but stay informed and don't give up.
Yeah. Consistency is key.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk resources for a second.
Okay.
Where can our listeners go to learn more about this and find support?
Oh my gosh, so many places.
Yeah.
Books, podcasts, blogs, online courses.
There's an endless amount of information out there.
There is. Find a financial advisor if you need to.
Yeah.
Talk to other investors.
Yeah.
Find online communities. Connect with people.
It can feel scary getting started, but you don't have to do it alone.
You do not.
That's really good advice.
I think so.
So as our listeners embark on this journey, what's something they should always keep in mind?
Celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
Every single one, even the small ones.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in, reaching that finish line that you forget to actually appreciate, how far you've come.
Exactly. So be proud of the progress that you're making.
I love that. All right, well, that brings us to the end of another deep dive.
It does.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope you learned some valuable strategies for mastering cash flow.
Yes, and good luck on your journey to financial freedom.
We'll be back soon with another topic, so stay tuned.
That's it for today's episode of Wealth Hustle 247. Be sure to follow, like, comment, and share with others. Keep pushing toward your goals, and we'll see you in the next episode.